attorney for Donald Trump, Alina Habba. Alina, great to see you. Thank you for being here. The good news about, I think, from my perspective, about what's happening is it's really pulling the curtain back. And we see that the only, when they get so desperate, failing through due process to do what might be necessary to challenge Donald Trump, they throw due process out the window, and you see how corrupt these prosecutions really are.
That's 100% right, David. I mean, how much more obvious can they be at this point? Yeah. They literally can't beat him in the polls, so they don't even want him to be an option for you. So if you take him off and you take away Americans' right to choice, to choose who they want to elect, to not only choose, but to choose who seems to be leading by independents, definitely leading by the Republican Party, and you're going to take him off the ballot because you're so afraid that the mess that you've made and the regime in the Washington corruption is going to get cleaned up in 2024 if he gets back there. And this is such a desperate attempt. Honestly, it's funny to me to watch that woman from Maine speak.
She's not a lawyer, by the way. I should have thrown that in as well.
I was just going to say that she is not a lawyer. And here, Section 300, you don't know what you're talking about. You know what you've done? You've made your team look like a fool, just like Colorado, the Bud Light of all states. And now we've got to see this go through again, and we're going to defeat it like we always do. If anything, thank you very much. You probably flipped some left-wingers from Maine to the Republican Party. I mean, it's crazy.
And, Alina, that's what happens every single time they come after Donald Trump in some way. His poll numbers go up because people see the injustice in it. But to a certain degree, when they cause a ruckus like this, they do present a legal problem for you. How do you combat this? How do you move forward?
Very simply, because some of us understand the law. Some of us understand what the Constitution says, due process. There are certain amendments that are still enabled by the Constitution that we have to abide by. And I think the Supreme Court will do the right thing. They'll give us some clarity on this. But I can tell you that these are so crazy. The Jack Smiths, the DAs, the AGs, they've become so deranged, so obsessed with taking down Trump that the law doesn't make sense to them because they don't care about it. But people like me, we take it one step at a time. We look at case law. We look at things that are precedent for this country. We look at the Constitution, and we will raise those all the way up to the Supreme Court when we have to. And they're taking issue with this. You just saw Jack Smith get shut down because he tried to rush his trial, his bogus trial, because he wants it before the election. We got Fannie in Georgia doing the same thing. This Maine woman that thinks she's a lawyer, she's another one. You're not making a good name for yourself, and you're going to go down on the wrong side of history. We'll take it one step at a time, and I'm not concerned.
Well, the bottom line of all of this, and you alluded to it just then, is that Jack Smith and the rest of the prosecutors have one thing in mind. They want to interfere in the election. They want to interfere in Donald Trump's attempt, first of all, to campaign and then to get into the White House if he's elected freely and fairly. And I think that is what is clear. That's why the Supreme Court shut down Jack Smith, isn't it?
100%. They shut him down because they said, you're not a special. This is not anything different. You're going to go through things the way everybody else does. And that was really, I commend them because they saw through the garbage and they said, no. There's no urgency. There's no rush. The only urgency you have is that your Soros backing is requiring you to answer to Biden and everybody else who wants to win unfairly, just like in 2020, and keep fighting in an incorrect manner. What is so wrong with fighting and winning fair and square? Yeah. And guess what? If you think you're so good, let him on the ballot. Let him on the ballot and win. But you can't because, like you said, our borders are a mess. Our country is a mess. The economics are terrible. The American people have had it. The desperation is obvious. It's just obvious.
And that's the thing, Alina, when they use diversionary tactics like this, to me, as you watch this play out, you're basically sitting there saying, wow, you are that scared of him. You are that scared that if he is on the ballot, he will absolutely annihilate you, that you have to go to these lengths.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I couldn't have said it better myself.
Well, Alina, we thank you. I know do you ever get any sleep, by the way?
Yeah.
I do. I get great sleep. I feel good. You know what? I'm never tired. This is the best job I could have, honestly. I'm really proud to be on the right side of history.
Well, congratulations for sticking with it. And again, you're one thing. Donald Trump's another. Yeah. He also, I wonder how he has the strength to go on, but he never fails to do that.
Amazing stamina.
Alina Habba, thank you so much for being here.
Happy
Appreciate
New Year.
So, of course, the bozos on other networks had a field day reacting to the Maine Secretary of State decision. Watch.
So the Maine Secretary of State found this on her plate. This is not something that she reached out and endeavored to do on her own. I think that there are sound legal reasons to find that Donald Trump is not qualified to be on the ballot.
I think the Maine decision is very solid. It was fully briefed. There is ample due process in this proceeding, and they just lost. By a straight, honest reading of the 14th Amendment, Trump's in trouble.
I may be completely wrong, but I think Colorado and Maine have it right. And this notion that removing someone from the ballot is anti-democratic, but that provision comes directly from the Constitution. I mean, it's the foundation of our democracy. And so I don't know that following the Constitution, adhering to the Constitution, can really ever be construed as anti-democratic in this case.
Due process?
Wow. Let's bring in Seattle radio host Jason Rantz. Jason, it's always great to have you, and that's what I hit on too, David. Ample due process. Let's just start there as one of the things that we can unpack in those clips. It is not her decision, Shenna Bellows, to decide whether or not there was an insurrection on January 6th or not. He's never been charged. He's never been convicted. He's never had an opportunity to even address the issue and defend himself within a court. So what she's doing there is making a unilateral decision and then trying to apply the law to a set of facts that she essentially has created out of thin air, Jason.
Yeah, apparently the only qualifications to be a legal analyst on MSNBC is to have watched Ally McBeal in LA Law, right? I mean, this is not really difficult to understand. I mean, Barb McQuaid, you played the clip of her from this morning. Sound legal argument is the quote that she had. Okay, what was the sound legal argument? Did you notice she doesn't actually tell us what the sound legal argument to keeping Trump off of the ballot actually is? Why doesn't she tell us that? Because they don't have one. There isn't one. At the end of the day, this is all about not liking the guy. He broke so many people. I understand why Democrats don't like Donald Trump. I understand why some Republicans don't. At the end of the day, it should be up to the voters, not up to one person or two people, individual states, to make that decision for us. Because if the only qualification you have here, or excuse me, if the only reason from a constitutional standpoint you have to pull someone off of a ballot is to simply say that they committed an insurrection, okay.
Right.
What's to stop then a Republican attorney general to do exactly the same thing and even try to charge Joe Biden with an insurrection, not even having to go anywhere, just say, no, we dropped the case today, now we can pull him off of the ballot. That's, of course, absurd, and no one would stand for it on the left. But because it's happening to Donald Trump, they're saying, oh, well, it's okay.
But, Jason, you know, I wonder how many, even Democrats, are looking at this and saying, this is not what the Constitution, this is not what separates America from the rest of the world. What separates America from the rest of the world is due process, is exactly what they're violating. Yep. And by the way, you look at some of the states, Pennsylvania, we just saw the number of Democrats becoming Republicans far outweighing the other way, Republicans becoming Democrats. There is a move for people actually to re-register as Republican, I think partly because of what they're seeing with these legal prosecutions.
They should be deeply concerned. They should be deeply concerned that you can somehow be judged incompetent to run for president without having even been charged. Not convicted, just simply not even charged. Because if you're willing to go that far after an enemy, just completely rip up the Constitution, throw out due process rights for one person, what's to say they're going to stop at that one person? They're going to go down and end up hurting other people.
Yeah, the precedent that it sets, Jason, is really horrific for the country. Let's move on to this topic because the anti-Israel protests that we've witnessed over the past 2 months, pretty much all around the country, as if that wasn't revolting enough for you, this might make your blood boil. Yesterday, massive groups stormed the World Trade Center. Watch this.
Intifada revolution, right? They also hit up JFK Airport out in Queens on Wednesday, causing a major disruption to travel. Several protesters were arrested, as you can see in this video. And the bottom line, Jason, is, you know, who do they hope to convince by making life more difficult for everybody?
Yeah, I keep waiting for people to push back and say this is clearly inappropriate and counterproductive. But what have the left been doing this entire time? They've been engaged in these kinds of tactics. Even when they're judged, they don't stop. So apparently we're not judging them harshly enough. These are people who celebrated the terrorist attack against Israel. And so now they are actively siding with the terrorist group on top of that, while then going to the site of the largest terrorist attack against the United States to protest what exactly? Why this particular spot? It's because they are terrorist supporters. Yeah. And all of us should be calling them out. But the reason why they don't get enough pushback from the general public is because I think the media, generally speaking, has been performing PR for them. Basically saying, oh, no, they're just pro-Palestinian. No, they're not. If you're screaming for an intifada, you are pro-Hamas. You are a terrorist supporter.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. And also you've got political leaders like AOC literally trying to rile them up with those tweets just before Christmas as well, because this is what they want to see. So they're kind of antagonizing them is the word that I was looking for. Jason Rantz, great to see you. Happy New Year to you, sir.